Hello, everyone. Seems that many still hasn't come back from the coffee break, but we have to get started with our exciting ECC initiated symposiums. This is Ying Guo from University of Washington. I'm the co-chair of the Early Career Committee, and today our Early Career Committee are glad to present 2 consecutive symposiums starting from now. The first is a presentation and interview between 2 mentor and mentee peers. I think this mentor-mentee talk has a few years tradition in SMRA ECC events. It started, I think, from 2019, and I think every year we have received very positive feedbacks, and people really love to know how students, junior investigators and professors and senior investigators, how a mentor-mentee work together, how they know each other, and how they kind of grow together, and to especially for students to learn how the student learn from the mentor and their journey together. So I think it's let's kick started with our first pair of mentor-mentees. So we are glad to invite our very own local Hideki Ota. He is a professor at the Medical IT Center and Department of Diagnostic Radiology at Tohoku University Hospital. And we're also glad to invite his student, Satoshi Higuchi, and he is also an MD at Tohoku University. And first they will give us a presentation about their mentor-mentee journey together.
Thank you. Thank you, In, for your kind introduction. I'm Hideki Ota.
And I'm Satoshi Higuchi.
So I just want to mention that my university, Tohoku, means the northwest. So you can recognize the Chinese characters corresponding to northwest. So before that, I will introduce myself. I am clinical radiologist doing reading MR and CT of the cardiovascular system, as well as the many other body parts. And I am also an interventional radiologist doing the treating patients with the emergency breathing and so on. So I would like to introduce my mentor, who is the chair of our university department, who is the Professor Takase. He's a cardiovascular CT imager and interventional radiologist, and now he's very interested in developing some devices for interventional radiology. But looking into the research, then I would like to introduce those 2 well-known professors and Dr. Professor Chong Yan and Dr. Kevin DeMarco, who they actually introduced me to attend the MRA Club, which is the former name of this society, SMRA. And because of this, and thanks to them, now I am here to host this society. So let's explore something. Let's explore the world about the radiology situation. We are so busy, actually. So you can appreciate this outlier here in Japan. So it means that the radiologists are short per population, and we have huge amount of the CT and MR scanner here in Japan per population. So that makes us radiologists just hectic for clinical duty. And here's a story. Satoshi actually wanted to be a cardiovascular surgeon when he was a medical student. And he's a Satoshi. And here's a story about how he changed his mind to become a radiologist. And he, at some time, he attended a clinical conference of cardiovascular surgery as a student. And cardiologist here presented a case with severe aortic regurgitation for surgical indication in this morning conference. And the professor of surgery asked a radiologist, which is actually me, about the CT findings, and this is me. And I just pointed out the underlying vasculitis, large vessel vasculitis, which is Takayasu arteritis, which requires medical control before surgery, which had been unknown to the patient. So Satoshi here was impressed with the young radiologist at that time, commenting details to the professor of surgery. And the professor appreciated my comment and asked the cardiologist to work up the vasculitis, Takayasu vasculitis, and surgery was postponed. And finally, the patient successfully underwent the surgery after the steroid therapy. So Satoshi had a crush on radiology. How cool you are. And now he plays a very important role on both clinical and research field. And here are the keys. So mentors should be very attractive to clinicians as well as medical students. And partnership among the medical staff, colleagues, and radiology and other the physicians in other departments, and respect to all the medical staff and patients and communication, those are very important. And thanks to actually Professor Michael Markov, 40-flow imaging attracted Satoshi. So imaging itself opens a gateway to radiology. So like I said, probably in an ideal world, we can have some balance among the clinical duty, education, and research. However, this is the real world in Japan. So because of the heavy clinical duty, we have only limited time for research. This is the real. But I try to attract him. For example, this is one example. So the Asian Society for Cardiovascular Imaging hosts kind of boot camp for manuscript publication. And I took him to this kind of camp, and it stimulated his research mind. This is our department. It's not a big group, but there is diversity. Some are motivated and some are not. And motivated for research or motivated only for clinical works. So we need to look at that there are young doctors, students, individually, and how to encourage a mentee. The key 3 point is like this. We need to look at and think about them individually and support them. And interactive communication, always, and frequent communication. We need to teach, but we also need to coach the mentees to their goals. And always try to ask open questions and show him what I usually do. For example, like reading images, presentation, writing, discussion, and communication. Those kind of things can make the research time equivalent to the other our duty. So now I will hand over to Satoshi.
Thank you for kind introduction. My name is Satoshi Higuchi. I'm 36-year-old, and I have a 8-year experience of diagnostic and interventional radiology. And I'd like to start my talk from why I became a radiologist. When I was 1 year old, I was diagnosed with bicuspid aortic valve, and when I was 22, I took operation of the aortic valve replacement. Yeah, that experience got me developing in the interest in the cardiovascular diseases. And when I was a medical school student, I was so smashed to see the 44 images in the patient with bicuspid aortic valve, and yeah, he showed me. And at that time, I decided to become a radiologist. But when I first became a radiologist, what I could do was just following in his footsteps according to his guidance. And I never think about whether he is a good mentor or not. I'm here. And in my third year of my as a radiologist, my boss recommended me to move to the National Cerebral and Cardiovascular Center in Osaka to develop my clinical skills as a cardiovascular radiologist. And it is there I first recognized how excellent mentor he was. And I believe there are 3 points that make him so special. The first one is his attitude to let me be involved in researches. He always introduced to others, and he always let me join to the meeting with them, research meetings. So that helped me to learn how to develop good relationship with others and how to progress the research effectively. And the second one is taking with me as equal, so never bossy with me, and that helped us to make a trusting relationship. And third one is rapid and encouraging responses from him. That definitely helped me to overcome some challenging situation and clinical problems as well. So through the effort we shared, I got a lot of opportunity to present my work at the World Congress, and I also got some publications and PhD and prizes and some grants. So do you think it is something to be envious? Yeah, I definitely satisfied with such achievement. But at the same time, I started to fear I couldn't achieve anything without his support. So I experienced some depressive period, but that period got me think about independent from him. So this is my work published in Radiographics last year, and it is about the barren pulmonary angioplasty for patients with CTEPH. And yeah, although I took a lot of support from my colleagues, but I feel I like that I could achieve this publishment on my own, because it is consisted of my total experience about this procedure. So I think definitely he is one of the good mentor, but he also have a not so good point I couldn't follow. That is taking on excessive amount of tasks on his plate. So he is always dealing with a lot of tasks and work. So there are two hypotheses about him. Hypothesis one is he is a terminator. he can be recharged by using the USB-C cable. And second one is there are two other Hideki on his home, and they share the work, and yeah, he doing this lot of work. And yes, but there's other hypothesis, but I think he's one of the best mentor for me. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Ota and Dr. Higuchi, for this wonderful presentation. And we will invite you back on stage again for the panel panel discussion later. But now let's invite our second pair of mentor-mentees. They are Dr. Michael Marco, and he is the Vice Chair for Research in the Department of Radiology at Northwestern University Feinberg School of Medicine, and the Lester B. and Francis T. Knight Professor of Cardiac Imaging. And we will also have Justin Barabu, and a PhD candidate, and work under Dr. Michael. So now it's their turn to share their research journey together.
Thanks. It's tough to follow that Terminator performance, obviously, that we just saw, but we'll try our best. So I'm Michael. This is Justin. Justin has been my mentee for a couple of years. He's a grad student in my lab. So when we thought about how we kind of wanted to approach this, I think the best idea was for us first to introduce ourselves, and then talk a little bit about what mentoring and mentee relationship kind of means to us and what our experience is. So I'll start with myself, and in order to explain my approach to mentoring and mentor-mentee relationships, I think everybody has different experiences, and really is driven and derived by how you experience your own academic career. And for me, this is very much related to traveling across the world and experiencing different labs and different cultures, and I just wanted to share that. So my whole journey starts out in Freiburg in southwestern Germany. This is where I started my undergrad. I then went to Glasgow in Scotland for one entire year to the physics program there, and had a really great experience there within Europe. Kind of first time I was really away from home for an entire year. And that really drove my kind of experience in terms of what it means to have a mentor if you're in an environment that you're not used to, and you know, having to deal with this. After this, I obviously went back to Freiburg and started my PhD in the same group. And during my PhD, I actually went to Kyoto in Japan for 2 months. And there was probably even more important to have kind of a local mentor who helped me kind of navigate everything in a country that's really was very different to what I experienced before, but I had a fantastic experience, and it's also really great to be back in Japan for, I've been back a couple of times, but again, I still very much think back about that, those 2 months I spent in Kyoto in Japan. After that, I went back again to Germany, finished my PhD, and then I went across to the entirely the other side of this map, starting my postdoc at Stanford in California, where I had, again, a different set of mentors who helped me orient myself transitioning from a PhD to become a more independent researcher, and we'll come back to that. And then there's one very important key event during my postdoc that happened there, and that was my first SMRA meeting that was in Wisconsin, in Madison. If you've been at the SMRA for a long time, or as long as I have been, then there's no way you can get around being in Wisconsin and Madison one time or the other if you want to have a career in MRA, and same is true for me. So this is actually not a joke and not something that I take lightly. I think because of this meeting is so heavily dependent or so focused on networking and social events and spending time together, I think a large part of my career actually is related to all the people I met at this meeting, and that's really important, that networking piece as well. So after that, I finished my postdoc at Stanford, went back to Germany again and started my first junior faculty position, was there again for 7 years, and then went finally to where I'm right now in Chicago in the US, where I'm faculty and since 4 years ago the vice chair for research. So that's my story and my background that has to a large extent also defined my approach to mentorship and mentor-mentee relationships. So I'll hand over to Justin.
So I'm a little less traveled. So I did my undergrad in Missouri, which is very in the middle of United States at Truman State University, which is a very small liberal arts program that really wasn't focused on research, but I did physics and math. It wasn't until I did my master's again in Missouri, at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, that I got my first mentor, where I studied Doppler imaging with Professor or Dr. Sherwin Chan at the Children's Mercy, Kansas. And so during this stay with him, he introduced me to 4D flow MRI and says, this is gonna be a cool technique, you should get into this. And Michael Markle is a great guy, you should contact him and do that. And I said, hey, this looks like Starry Night of the Heart, and it's a cool vector field. That's really cool, I wanna do that. And one thing about this is that I had a lot of trust in Dr. Chan, and I think a cool key point is that good mentors beget good mentors, as they'll really send you off to go to your next good step. So I then did the scariest thing every millennial has to do. I had to set up a phone call with Michael in order to have an interview, which was pretty scary, but he was the nicest person on the phone, really was happy to have me contact him, and then suggested that I apply to Northwestern and join his lab. And so that's how our journey sort of started. So we kind of set up sort of from the mentee and mentor's perspective, things and pearls of wisdom and what we kind of expect from a mentee and mentor. So as a mentee, for mentees, I kind of figured out, echoing a lot of what we saw from Laura and Leonardo from their talk, is to really figure out what you want in your life and also be able to ask for it, because it's not gonna be just one mentor that you have, it's gonna be several. And one of the ways that I saw this with Michael was actually part of a T32 program where he is a mentor for. And one of the trainees was explaining how she needed some sort of clinical collaborator to really help her advance her research. And Michael was really able to connect her together with a clinical collaborator for that. And it changed the direction of her PhD completely. Another thing that is important is to sort of be flexible and adapt and learn new skills or ideas, which I think Laura touched on as well. There's a lot of things in my PhD process that I didn't realize I would have to get into, like server and DICOM management, but also be able to pursue things that you need to shore up. So we do a lot of CMR, and I realized like a lot of MRI is also brain imaging, so Michael allowed me to take some brain imaging courses to kind of buffer that. And then finally, I think it's important to have an identity and sense of agency within your research. And Michael really fosters this, for a lot of the changes that I make and designs that I want to go through with my research, I feel are completely mine. Then the things that I kind of wanted from my mentor and things that I kind of reflected upon is that I really wanted a diverse collaborative group, as I wanted to try to do things that are useful. And Michael is able to really foster this, as we have a lot of clinicians, engineers, and scientists within the group. And the way that he's really able to get a lot of people that want to work with him is that everyone gets something from the research. So when we set up these large projects, everyone's able to get something and be happy with it. I think a big thing on the mentor side is to find effective ways to communicate and meet, as I'm one of his mentees, but he has like 10. So it's really up to him to be able to effectively figure out how to meet with me and communicate correctly to further my growth. And finally, one thing that's really important is to keep things realistic, as I like to get pretty creative and go wild, going down rabbit holes and investigating things, but he's really able to keep a big idea on the scope and the big picture of me graduating and actually going on to my next career opportunity. And so from my perspective, I think these are pretty important things from a mentee and mentor.
Oh, there you go. So this is my perspective, and the way we set this up, and I think this is the way it actually should be done, is that both as a mentor, as a mentee, you should always think about both sides of the equation. You should think about the mentor, what the expectations are, and what the mentee, what the expectations are. So I did the same thing. So when I think about the mentee, what the mentee wants from me, I think one of the important things is that you have regular interactions. That's very important for prioritization, for brainstorming, for planning. So this for me means I have to make the time. And I'll come back to that a little bit later, but I think the one important thing there to as a reminder is for all the mentor-mentees out there, it is a time commitment, but these are my best meetings. I mean, I have a lot of other commitments as the vice chair and in societies and things like that, but these meetings, you actually talk about research, you update each other, you kind of discuss new ideas. So these are really well invested times and a lot of fun. So I don't really find this hard to make the time. It's sometimes difficult to plan, but it's really the best meetings I have. The other thing that the mentee, I think, needs to understand from my perspective is that it's a two-way street. So it's both sides benefit from the mentor-mentee relationship, and both sides have expectations, and I'll come back to that a little bit. And that's very important. Often when people think about mentor-mentee relationships, then the thought is, well, why would somebody take on another mentee when you're already busy? Well, because there is benefit, and there's really, really positive interactions both ways, and I think that's important, and it's also important to understand for each party what the benefits are for each other. Why are you incentivized to kind of participate in this relationship? And I think that's very important. And I think the other thing that the mentee expects from me, I think, is that my research and my approach has some certain uniqueness that that person can benefit off that they might not get from somebody else. And that could be something that is related to what you're working on as a research, but it could also be something that attracts you to somebody's personality. That's not necessarily a definite thing. It can be very different for different mentees. Now, from my perspective, again, I think the most important thing is that I have dedicated and regular times for interactions and networking opportunities. And again, this is a lot of time. If you think about that, I meet with all my postdocs and students once a week, at least 30 minutes. If you have 10, 12 students, that's an entire day. But again, those are the best and most interesting meetings I have. So I wouldn't want to miss those. And because of these meetings, I have a lot of opportunity to learn from the mentees, get new ideas, and get joint strategies. So for Justin, for example, he kind of showed you a lot of the AI work that he's done just in his talk right now, where he looks at the automated segmentation, or has these 5D flow projects where he looks at advanced reconstructions. I had no idea about AI about 5 years ago, and I've learned a lot from all my students and postdocs and people like Justin. They taught me how AI can actually be used in a meaningful way, and they were kind of down in the trenches and did the deep digging and all the coding. And I'm really the beneficiary of this, and now our entire research group is. So this is a great example how there's a real benefit for me, actually, from these relationships. And then, of course, I think what's also important for me is that I want to make sure, and that's one of the key things really to me as a mentor that's very important, is to support independence. And that's really one of the most important things, that when you come out of your PhD or your postdoc, that you're on the track to establish an independent research profile that you can really grow in your academic career. So that's, in a nutshell, the two of us, and we look forward to more questions and discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Marco and Justin, for the wonderful presentation. And then let's welcome all our 4 speakers on stage, and we may have around 10 minutes for questions and interviews. Is there any questions to any of the pairs of mentor-mentees from the audience?
A very nice talk. And I have one question. So, do you have a situation when the mentee and mentor have a conflict? For example, the mentor wants the mentee to write sequence, but they are more interested in AI. So, how you can you give a real example how you resolve the conflict?
Okay. I think that we as a clinician, clinical radiologist, we do have many topics to do research, and if a mentee want to do something which I think is not my purposes, but then I think after discussion, I think sometimes I will take the mentee's opinion. It depends, although, but I think they just discuss and what they thought. Then final decision maybe if it's variable, then I think I will go with that.
So I agree. I think it's actually, I would look at it as a positive sign if somebody wants to explore other areas. I think it's a good thing, and that's part of the process of becoming independent. My job is to make sure there's not too many rabbit holes, as Justin has said, where people kind of start digressing and kind of lose the big picture, particularly if you need to write a PhD thesis at some point in time. So that's kind of where I come in and try kind of keep people, push them back on track. But I think it's a good thing to explore other areas of research, and sometimes you have to go down a rabbit hole as long as you come out at the back end, and that works well.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the audience?
I appreciate your comment about the rabbit hole. I think it's important also that students go down that rabbit hole, but when to stop, that's obviously a challenge. But I have a slightly different question, and it is, as a mentor, you have the benefit or the disadvantage sometimes that you have a longer-term perspective in your mind, and a lot of changes have happened during that time, whereas the mentee only has a relatively short time span in his mind. And sometimes this is not always very easy to manage, these two different experiences and expectations. So I was wondering how you see that.
Yeah, so that's a great point. That is also very relevant if it's, for example, a master's student who does a one-year thesis as opposed to a grad student who is with the lab for 4 or 5 years or something like that. And for these short periods of time, that's very difficult. The way I try to manage this is you have to kind of take a step back as a mentor, I think, and forget a little bit about the long-term plan, and have, at least initially when somebody comes to your lab, have very dedicated, well-defined projects initially for somebody really to develop the basic set of skills to get started with the research. And then you kind of have to observe, I think, how they do, and then what you think they can accomplish within the short period of time. So that would be my answer. So it's not losing sight of that long timeline, but making sure that the mentee is not looks at this overarching picture and think, oh my God, this is way too long-term and complex. How can I even contribute to that? You have to carve out a really nice niche and have it really well defined. That doesn't always work, the way you want, but that's kind of my best answer to that question, I guess. But of course, you cannot forget about the long-term picture, and you should also sell this to kind of make sure that the vision is also understood, I think. So, but it's challenging, I agree.
Yes, very good question. Thank you. I think in my case, because our department is try to develop something, but also try to do some kind of clinical application of the some new techniques and so on. So then first, I will try to find some topics which can be accomplished, achieved within a relatively short period to the kind of UVs. This is so because the students doesn't have enough time. But if a patient, if the student wanted to do some topics which takes longer time, then we need to think about how much does it, how long does it take, and so on. And if the student, if it takes a long time, but it's okay, then I will accept it. But if the student want to, get the degree or graduate, then I will advise something that can be achievable in a short time. So.
Yeah. Do you have any comment from the mentees?
Okay, cool. So I guess my comment would be from my perspective, it looked seamless. Maybe because Michael is a good mentor in that regard, as the projects he gave me and brought up, maybe I was gaslit into thinking these are great, and they turned out to be great. But I think from the mentee perspective, it shouldn't seem like you had to like rush and like find a certain thing, but it just like naturally sprang up and it's gonna fit. And if it works, it's gonna be good for your career. I'm wondering for the mentors, has there ever been like a project where you thought this would work in maybe like 6 months and it didn't or it couldn't? And like, how do you resolve that with the mentee?
So that happens all the time. And you know, you always complete, I mean, I've many times misjudged how long something takes, how difficult it is, and you know, even what the results of the project might be. But you know, that's research, and I think that's the fun part about it. I think you have to look at it in a positive way that, you know, you probably don't know what you have in 3 months from now, but you'll have something and it will be interesting. And as long as you kind of look at it that way and then think about how you kind of move forward. And that's also why these weekly regular interactions are important, because then you can just, you know, go with the flow, so to say, or grow with the data and just adapt the project as it needs to be. So that's an important thing. I mean, you have to be, and that's the second part of the question, is you cannot be fixated on something, a certain timeline, a certain result you expect, or a certain complexity of project, because it changes all the time. I think that's very important, to be flexible and be able to pivot on a regular basis.
Thank you for asking a question. And in my opinion, the small achievement, small achievement is so important for younger generation to motivate to continue the research and the clinical practice. So make it sure to make a small achievement is so vital for me. And yes, the continue, that motivate us to develop more. Thank you.
I have, because I have clinical duty and research things, so I think that our project usually takes like 1 year or something like that, not too short. So we will usually try to discuss their progress. So just a comment.
Yeah. Thank you all for the comments about this long-term, short-term project management and expectation management. So I think, unfortunately, due to time limits, and I'll have one single quick question I want every one of you to comment on. So that is, if you can name one, only one, like the quality, like you, your mentor or your mentee impresses you the most, or you like learn the most from them, just that one single quality, what will you say it will be? I want answers from all the speakers.
So the great thing about Justin is every single time we meet, and we meet every week, he has a new idea.
So for Michael, the thing that I'm constantly just awed by is his efficiency. Just in everything he does, if something needs to be done, he gets it done immediately for every single thing. There's times where I'll submit an abstract to him, and by the time I take the bus home, he's given it back to me. So it's just really efficient and able to get things done.
First, I trust him. Yeah, after very, very long discussion and the very long relationship. So this is the point, that having good relationship, a truly good relationship between us, it's a very important thing. And then he asked me, I have some good idea. Okay, let's talk about it. And then I almost all cases I will say, okay, let's go.
In my opinion, what I think is most important is the two-way communication between the mentor and mentee, as Michael said. And so the two-way communication must be developed, trusting relationship between the two. So yes, I believe that. Thank you.
let's thank you again for this wonderful presentation and discussion. Yeah, and it's now let's move on to our second half of this our ECC Initiative Symposium, and this is a newly devised program for this year since we are holding our meeting in Japan, and I think international collaboration will be a very important topic, and so especially collaboration cross-continent. So let's welcome our second second round of speakers. And
yeah, hi, my name is Chen Yuan. I'm asked to moderate this part of the discussion. And this is about international collaboration. And also, in this meeting, if you think about this cross-linkage of different countries, that it's becoming quite interesting in the current environment. So the discussion will be focusing on different pairs of different countries. The first speaker is Dr. Huilin Zhao, and he's from Renji Hospital, Shanghai, China. And so you will have a short introduction.
Hello everyone, I'm Huilin Zhao from Shanghai Renji Hospital, School of Medicine, Shanghai Jiao Tong University. My research interest is vascular imaging. My graduate research, I think I start in 2005. Because we have the first 3D MR scanner. I think it's very advanced at that time, and I did a little review, and I think I can do some work on vascular imaging, especially the carotid plaque imaging. And I found half of the literature publication, the corresponding author is Professor Chen Yuan. I learned from it, and I think, but I think the image quality is good, but the time efficient protocol is limited. So we try to get advanced quick sequences, and I think there's a very important person for us. That's Xihai. Xihai Zhao was working in Renji Hospital for several years, and he went to Chen's lab for the postdoctoral career, and we contacted with Xihai, and he was glad to introduce for us, and then we know Professor Yuan. I think it's in 2009, it's a meeting in Shanghai, and we invited Professor Yuan to our hospital, and he reviewed our carotid image. Oh, he said, oh, very good image quality, but multi-contrast protocol is time-consuming, and he was interested to collaborate with us. So. That's why we started and pushing the carotid imaging in the clinical application. And I think there's some my colleagues visiting in Chen's hospital, and I was visiting in Chen's lab in 2018 and 2019 for 1 year. And then for now, I have a group, these young men, we are all working together to push the vascular imaging research. And for now, we have a large sample of MR visible imaging database, or more than 3,000 subjects. Most of them had a large atherosclerotic stroke. I think we maybe one of the biggest large sample size in Shanghai, and we are doing pretty good in clinical application. And regarding the how we we started the mutual beneficial cooperation from 2011 to now. I think one purpose is hardware and software promotion in communication. We have the very advanced MR scanner, but we lack the sequence, advanced sequence. But we are radiology, we are physician, and the Chun's group, I think Chun was engineer, right? And his group is very good at sequence developing. So we have the mutual beneficial cooperation conditions. So, well, we have many patients to scan, and that's we can provide what the other need. So I think one of the hobby of Professor Chun is hiking. When I went to Seattle in his lab, I think he maybe invite me for a dinner, but at the weekend he asked us to hiking. It's winter, it's very cold. I think that day I'm exhausted, and there's several weeks weekend we go out hiking from, I think, from winter to summer and winter again. He never invited us for dinner. That's the last time when I went back to Shanghai. He invited for a dinner, I think. But when we following his hiking, I think I think I understand something. We climb from one mountain to the other. We keep walking. I think that is the meaning of doing our research. We just just thinking and walking. That will be the terminal in front of us. So that I think Professor Chun gave us the goal and the friendship to do that. And we in the near 10 years, we have some collaborative publications, including radiology, ATVB, and European radiology papers. I think that's very fantastic. And we, with the help with his group, we have some influence in domestic, I think, vascular imaging. We host some international and domestic meetings. We have invited several foreign experts, including Mark Marco, to Shanghai to give us the presentation. And we are physicians. We have not only the MR angiography techniques, but also other modalities, including CT angiography, DSA. We can use combined together to support the clinical for different needs. So that's the advantage of our radiologists. So we provide the clinics very easy and useful imaging solution. That's will be very useful. So we start from visualizing the plaque and precising, diagnosing, and quantitative evaluating the plaque, and we now are pushing some work on intelligence work. So I think for now we have served more than 9,000 patients each year, and it's still increasing. And we have added 12 basic vessel imaging exams in our hospital, and I think we are also collaborating with Tsinghua group. We are pushing something, and we were involved in the CARE 2 study. I think this is a very fantastic study. We included more than 1,000 patients, and with the help of Shihai, and I think he pushed the standard specification of the image protocol. That makes us better to do the clinical research and transfer in clinical usage, I think. So, thank you.
Yep, thank you. The next invited speaker is Dr. Kiyofumi Yamada, and he is from Hyogo Medical University, Japan.
Thank you for introducing me, Junyo, Dr. Junyo. I'm not a radiologist, I'm a neurosurgeon, so that's why there's no picture on mine. And yeah, I'm from now National Cerebral and Cardiovascular Center, which is located in Osaka, and also I'm adjunctive lecturer of Hyogo Medical University. And Osaka is located relatively west of Japan, and it takes 1.5 hours by air. So it's relatively reasonable. And so we are clinicians, so my clinical expert ties area is cerebral vascular surgeon, such as carotid endarterectomy and aneurysm clipping, bypass, and also endovascular surgery, aneurysm coiling or flow diverting surgery, and also carotid artery stenting. We usually perform 1,000 surgery per year, and 500 is direct surgery, and 300 is endovascular surgery. And also, my research interest is carotid plaque imaging using multimodality, and I have been researching since 2005, so about 20 years has passed. I started to research in this area, and since 2011, I visited to UW Radiology as a research scholar, supported by the Japan Heart Foundation and other foundation, also Jones Grant, NIH R21 grant. So it has already passed 10 years. And I enjoyed a lot research life, also private life. So I met a lot of people from all over the world, US, China, European countries, or like that. And also I learned, so I'm clinician, so at that time I have a small amount of knowledge about the plaque imaging, but I learned from many people in UW VIL, Vascular Imaging Laboratory person, and this is the first publication of the paper JCM published on JCMR using about the presence of high intensity signal in the plaque and association between the presence of high intensity signal plaque and large amount of interplaque hemorrhage paper. So and also the carotid stenosis is one of the important causes of ischemic stroke, as you know. The plaque assessment is important to identify the timing or strategy of treatment of it. So this is a consensus of, even though in Japan and the neurosurgical area. And CEA as a surgical therapy, the carotid endarterectomy, CEA, and carotid stenting were performed. And interestingly, maybe unlike US, the stenting is about twice as much much number of surgery as CEA, so it is interesting result. But the stenting, the CAS carotid artery stenting, has recently emerged as a potential alternative to CEA in Japan. But one of its disadvantages of this method is high incidence of distal embolism, so fly away to the brain. So when we perform the PTA, the debris has fly away to the brain, even though using a distal protection filter or like that. This is a picture of filter. There's a lot of debris, and this is a brain picture after the stenting. So, and it is said that association between the ischemic complication and plaque morphology. The vulnerable plaque is dangerous for CAS. So previously, we published relation between the high-intensity signal in the plaque on time-of-flight MRA, MIP image, and ischemic complication. But these kinds of study is a retrospective, small number, and single center, and qualitative. So we started to conduct the prospective large number multi-center quantitative study. Then we conducted this kinds of study. This is a non-randomized multi-center prospective observational study. The purpose of the study was to compare the plaque characteristics evaluated by MRI and ischemic complications after CAS. And 4 centers in Japan was participated in. Then, the core lab is UW radiology, the vascular imaging laboratory, because this area, the research quality is most highest in the world at that time. Therefore, we collaborated this laboratory. And we performed, at the core laboratory, we performed this kinds of quantitative imaging like this. And then this analysis was blinded review. And then Japanese doctors performed CAS, and also diffusion MRI was performed pre and post, and checked the new DW lesion and also neurological examination. And time is short, so I want to show the result. This graph shows that the patients who have a much higher DWI positive volume had a carotid large amount of intraplaque hemorrhage. So there's a big association. So this means that the patient who had a big intraplaque hemorrhage in carotid, the carotid artery stenting is relatively high risk. Also, this is association between the plaque characteristics and post-operative ischemic symptoms. The y-axis means IPH volume and repeat-rich necrotic volume, and x-axis means post-operative ischemic symptom, positive or negative. So positive patient had a large amount of IPH volume, also repeat-rich necrotic volume. So using these results, the quantitative measures of carotid plaque composition may predict a new ischemic symptoms after CAS, but not new DW positive lesion. So now we are making a main study to publish some journal. Also, also, part of the result we published this year. And after the research, we got some research grant like this. These are very important things to continue to perform the collaborative study. Also, Dr. Chun is Dr. Chun Yuan is my mentor, our mentor, because this is me. This doctor was run next to me, the 2018 or 2019 or like that. And this is a picture when we invited Chun to annual meeting of the Japan Neurosurgical Society meeting, and we make a good connection each other. And to make a good international collaboration study, the important things is good and close relationships between groups. So in the institutions, the key person, neurosurgeons or neuroradiologists or radiation technicians is important. So we need to make a close relationships. Also, we need to good relationships with review group or imaging acquisition group, setting group, and statisticians, because those people is experts of this area. So we are clinicians, so maybe lack of these areas experiences or knowledge or like that. The important thing is this kinds of relationships we need to build. So, yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yep, thank you very much. There were a lot of very good memories there. We will ask the third speaker, Dr. Masaki Ishida from Mie University, Japan, to share his experience.
Okay, thank you for the kind introduction. First of all, I have to tell you that this presentation and to be done by Professor Sakuma in our department, but he has to leave earlier because of the unavoidable university work. So I am going to take over this opportunity. Appreciated, he's nice mentor. So this is the group photo of our cardiac imaging group in Department of Radiology in Mie University Hospital. So, as you know, this is Professor Sakuma and me. I'm an associate professor in the department, mainly involved in the cardiac MRI. And this is Dr. Kitagawa. He is a person in charge for the cardiac CT. So we are doing a lot of cardiac MRI and cardiac CT. And this one. This guy is our nice mentee sitting there, Dr. Takafuji. So our research interest is our cardiac disease in general, especially by using cardiac MRI. But past 15 years, the main focus was one of our main focus was coronary MR angiography. Then, as you know, coronary MRA has a lot of advantage to the other modalities, such as no radiation exposure and the feasibility of non-contrast study, and also insusceptible to coronary calcification. And for the coronary MRA, we have been using the navigator echo technique for a long time. But this technique has a limitation, which is gating efficiency is very low. But we can obtain very, very great image quality using this technique. We mainly use this technique. And the other approach is the self-navigation system, which is making the most of the feature of the field access 3D radial sampling, because fast spoke rates can be used for the navigation for the diaphragmatic movement. But this is a principle, and this advantage is 100% scan efficiency, and we can predict the scan duration. But this technique, the image quality is a little bit degraded compared to the navigator ecosystem. So, in addition to this limitation, this kind of technique is heavily operator dependent. So we need the paradigm shift from this kind of old-fashioned conventional technique to the sophisticated technique. So back in 2015, I had a chance to write a chapter for the coronary angiography in some kind of textbook. At that time, in the subsection of the future perspective, we researched a lot of literature and found that game changer should be compressed sensing and 4 or 5-dimensional free learning whole heart imaging. So this is a free learning 5D coronary MRA principle. I won't explain detail, but the concept is just few click, you can obtain every information or case-based information, and afterwards you can reconstruct as you like. That is a concept. So in 2019, Professor Sakuma visited Lausanne to meet Professor Matthias Tuba and discuss about our collaboration. Then a few months after his visit, several persons from our department, including me, visited again Lausanne to attend internal meeting to learn actually what is going on. And at that time, we reached the agreement about collaboration. This is the picture of that opportunity. And this red arrow is me, Professor Sakuma, and Mr. Nakako. And of course, this is Professor Juba and his very nice, excellent team. And immediately after our visit, Dr. Jerome Yeli from the Lausanne visited our department to implement the sequence and reconstruction system. And also, unfortunately, we had a pandemic of COVID-19. In that period, we had a regular meeting by the web meeting system. So, and but to that time, at 3D environment, no one optimized this scheme. So we optimized the contrast injection protocol and imaging parameter, and finally we've got a very good imaging quality as shown on this slide. Then we finally wrote up the small but important paper about this technique. And after that, for the coronary MRA, we almost abandoned a lot of data, but we can make the most of the data to reconstruct the cine images and demonstrate that agreement is very good as compared with the 2D cine. So, but this kind of collaboration, we need to invest high-spec PC. So this was supported by the departmental budget. And also I've got Japanese Kakenhi grant for this project. So that's it. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you. So now it's Dr. Matthias Stuber from University of Lausanne, Switzerland, to share his experience.
Thank you very much for this kind invitation, and I'm glad I didn't prepare any slides because I probably would have shown the same slides as Masaki just have shown. Maybe a little bit of a narrative, a background of how this very nice and fruitful collaboration, for which I'm very grateful, came about. When I was a young PhD student, the most difficult thing anybody could do was coronary artery imaging. And within that, there was only one thing that was even more difficult, and that was imaging or visualization, quantification of the coronary artery blood flow. And there was only one single person in the world that had done this in Charlie Higgins' lab at UCSF, and that was Hachime Sakuma. So for me, Hachime was, of course, a very big name as a PhD student, and luckily, a year or two later, Philips organized these regular cardiovascular users meetings, and so by fortuity, our happenstance, I was sitting in a boat right next to Hachime Sakuma, and I started talking to him about the coronary arteries and the flow, etc., etc. And henceforth, at international meetings, ISMRM, SCMR, SMRA, we regularly met and regularly updated each other about our passion, which was coronary artery imaging, first on the same platform, and then I moved to Lausanne, and of course, I also changed the vendor with that. But a couple of years later, I ran into him again, and he said they also switched to the same vendor as we are now, and that he's very interested in doing coronary artery imaging at 3 Tesla. And for me, that was like an open door, because we had this sequence, which I demonstrated this morning, and I think Masaki just showed a little bit of it. And of course, I was more than happy to share that sequence with him, and so that he can optimize it. Because one thing that is common between, I think, the Swiss and the Japanese culture is the meticulous attention to detail. And I would say they took it even to the next level by really looking at the acquisition protocol, the injection protocol. Every single parameter was turned around. The parameter range was very carefully explored until they found a maximum. Even the injection, how they do that, was optimized for this protocol. And not only that, they also then looked into the different lambdas of the regularization parameters of the reconstruction to optimize that to a level which we had never done before. So for me, it was really 1 + 1 = 3, because they took it so much further than probably we would have done it at 3 Tesla. And also, you just showed your visit to Lausanne, which was very, very nice. You know, these 3 friends came over to Lausanne and visited our annual retreat. But the images you didn't show was, we also went to the vineyard and had a couple of glasses of wine at the north shore of the Lake Geneva. So I'm sorry I didn't bring that with me. But that also goes to say, you know, there is also conviviality, there is trust, there is working together, there is friendship, and of course this carries the day. And this is, I guess, fostered mostly by such meetings as we have right now. This is where you meet, this is where you build trust, this is where you get enthusiastic about new ideas, implementing things. And so therefore, this is so important, and I very much enjoy this collaboration with our Japanese colleagues, and I'm looking forward to actually extending this collaboration even further once we are ready, also with mapping. And one thing I also wouldn't want to miss to mention, I first mentioned this meeting with one vendor. Now here in this instance, on both sides of the ocean, as it were, we have the terrific support of our company friends who support this initiative in Japan, who support this initiative in Switzerland. So also there, the collaboration with the vendor is critically important, and we shouldn't forget that either. I think this is not mentioned enough, that this is so critically important to move the field together forward. And with that, I would like to thank you for your attention.
Thank you. We understand we are, if we end this, we can all have our beautiful dinner, but we still have a little time for the speakers to be on the panel, so we have a brief discussion time. Yes, please. So are there any questions from the audience? I think that this collaboration seems to be, there are technical aspects, there are cultural aspects, there are also this, the exchange of ideas among different expertise in different fields. And I wonder whether there are any other comments or questions in this area. Who is first?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just have one question. So I wonder how you compare this international collaboration versus like this local collaboration. What is advantages and disadvantages, and what is motivation for you to establish this international collaboration?
Yeah, so one of the common denominators of success is oftentimes diversity, right? And that happens already in your own lab. Diversity is important. And if you reach out to international collaborations, you add even more diversity. And so what's helpful from my point of view also in our collaboration is not only the attention to detail, which is a commonality, but also your healthcare environment has different boundary conditions and allows you to do studies which perhaps we couldn't so easily perform. And this is an added richness which we can exploit together, so that again, 1 and 1 equals 3.
Thank you. I totally agree with the comment by the Professor Juba. And even we have the similar research interest. Each side has something to do in a different perspective, so we can share the same information and technology. We can develop the same field more and more. So that is our motivation to collaborate each other. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your question. The difference between the international and local study is that the first thing is the ways of thinking or diversity of the thinking is very different, and also for us best characteristic is a neurosurgeon. So the technical knowledge or some other radiological experience is very low. So and also for example, the UDA, VIL, there are a lot of experts in that area, not only the clinician but also the researcher or some fundamental researcher or computer technologist or like that. So basic characteristics is different. That will become a good diversity energy, and also boost on the making a good research or collaboration study or like that. So yeah, I think so. Thank you.
In our experience, I think for domestic or the collaboration or in one city or in one country, it's easy to communicate. We can gather together to talk about. But for now, I think for international cooperation, it's a little bit difficult but I think for like we can attending the conference like SMI, it's a very nice meeting. We can meet engineer, scientific technicians or scientists. We physicians can talk or compensate each other. I think it's a very nice platform to communicate.
Okay, thank you. Other questions?
So you've mentioned that cultural differences give you diversity of thought and cultural commonalities give you some common ground. How do you find those commonalities and how do you manage the differences in things like communication? What's the process for getting to a successful collaboration?
For me, I think it's still a question. It's I think it's hard to communicate with like foreign or non I think English native speakers. We are. I have a suggestion. I think can we accumulate or post the advantage or the requests of our collaborative needs, and there we can post online, or there's a table we can find what we can provide or what we need, and there's a connection. I think we can think over when we get back to our country, we can still get the contacts. I think we have limited times to communicate in this meeting, so there's a long or we can we set up some projects to help us to get the international cooperation, and we can report the progress in the next meeting. That will maybe helps, I think.
Thank you for your question. So to keep motivation or to keep a good communication each other, we met directly each other because before COVID-19 pandemic, so we could meet each other. So that's an important point. Also, fortunately, we stayed for I and the other doctor can stay a long time at the laboratory. That's one of the important things to keep motivation or quality of study. Yeah, but now is after COVID pandemic, so it will relatively easy at the pandemic time.
Thank you for the question. So, as you may know, we had lots of commonality between us because we are living in the same field and looking at probably same goal. But at the moment, we also have a lot of different things to overcome, which is a language barrier, and we are just a radiologist, so we are not so familiar with the technical aspect. So actually, as this collaboration is a part of the work in progress sequence, so industrial company supported us a lot in terms of the language barrier and technical things. And also internally, our collaborator, who is Professor Nakayama, PhD, helps a lot about setting up the MATLAB or everything. So I think it is very important to get the help from the many kind of people around us. Thank you.
So I think what we clearly have in common also is the passion for it, and this is the driver. And regardless what language you speak, if you're passionate about the same thing, you can make things move forward. And then as to the differences, I always felt this makes us richer. And even though there is a language barrier to a certain extent, and even though there was a COVID barrier, if you will, to another extent, this never slowed us down, I think, because of the communication possibilities we have nowadays, and maybe even thanks to COVID, who knows. We always could meet regularly, and we made a lot of progress together. So I don't think there was some kind of a cultural or a language barrier that slowed us down. Not at all. I think it's the differences that make us rich.
Yeah, I'd like to ask a question about regulatory environments. That none of you are actually from the US. I think there were a lot of policy changes in the US towards collaborations, especially international collaborations. And also there are issues of if their data are exchanged from one place to the other, how do you have any opinions of how to handle the challenges or obstacles or ever-changing rules in this field?
Yeah, get things done very quickly because it's only going to get worse.
In my opinion, so ideally we have the same platform for the data sharing, but at the moment it is getting stricter and stricter in terms of the IRB to transfer the data. So I think the most important thing is to understand the legal situation. So we have to pay attention to the legal subject.
Yeah, I think the situation is getting bad, and in my opinion, the data or the imaging source is concentrating to the one part, especially in the core lab, is the one choice to maintain the data is same or like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have to obey the law and the rules of our country or our hospital. And I think I'm lucky. I cooperate with Transport group. Your group members mostly are very excellent researchers are in Tsinghua, so we are in the same country. So we can do what we can do for now, I think.
So are you suggesting we move international collaborations into domestic collaboration?
No, nope. For now, we can do what we can do. We can use what we have.
Okay, any other questions? If not, let's thank you for all the speakers to share their experience. I sincerely hope we have more international collaborations. Thank you.